Hello, and welcome to another episode of this internet thing that I do. So I mentioned on last week's episode, I was in the middle of 12 work days in a row. That actually turned to 13 today as I got a late call to work a Pacers game. And instead of going back through the 12 days and like what I've learned and whatever, because I didn't really learn much, I did kind of just learn to embrace the grind. It was a long 12 days, some days shorter than others, or 13 days, some days shorter than others, but overall, fantastic. I got paid a decent amount throughout the 12 days. It added up, and I feel blessed. I just feel blessed, and I maybe have never felt more blessed than today. So this morning I woke up earlier, set an alarm for 9:30 because I wanted to wake up and watch the World Cup final between Argentina and France. Watched it with all of my friends in Discord. It's the video chat, sort of Skype kind of dealio that we use to talk to each other. Watched it with all my pals. Watched Messi go up 2-0, almost choke the lead, then bring it back. Saw Mbappe score a hat trick. I think the first ever hat trick in a World Cup final, perhaps. A historical game across the board. Messi finally got his World Cup. France almost went back to back. It went down to a penalty shootout. Maybe one of the greatest live sporting events I've ever watched in my life. Granted, I wasn't there in person, but, on TV still live. But absolutely insane. Maybe just... I was talking to my friends during the game, and when I was getting to extra time and getting down to penalties, I said, if you were to plan the perfect game for this scenario, wouldn't this be it? Lionel Messi versus Kylian Mbappe. Old money versus new money. The whole country of Argentina with the world on their back versus France, the returning champions. The champions of the last World Cup. Probably the best team in the tournament. And Argentina and Messi rose to the challenge. It was, again, one of the best sporting events I've ever seen in my life. Had all of the drama you would want, some potential conspiracies for cheating, but then France brought it back. Again, Mbappe scored a hat trick. Just incredible. It's what you would have asked for when you drew up this tournament, other than maybe a Messi-Ronaldo final. Absolutely incredible. And Messi got his World Cup, so that's a good thing. I guess depending on who you are, that's a good thing. But during the World Cup final, I got a call from a number I actually didn't recognize, but I answered it anyways just because I was like, I might know this person. And it was a number from Ohio, and it was my boss from the Pacers. And he called me and said, hey, Matthew, I got a late cancellation. Are you free tonight to work the Pacers game? And I thought about it for a second because I just worked 12 days in a row, and I was like, I kind of didn't want to, but I only get offered like one or two Pacers games a month. So this opportunity arose, and I didn't have anything going on, so I snatched it. And let me tell you, it was an incredible decision, to be honest with you. I got there a few minutes early, and it started off on a sour foot, I'll say that. I got there a few minutes early, and as I opened my door, as I parked and opened my car door, a lady drove into my open car door. There's an argument for whose fault it was. Maybe I got out of my car too early. Maybe she should have actually paid attention to where she was parking and noticed that I was getting out of my car. Either way, it just kind of dented the front left corner or right corner of her car. I waited around for her while she got her things together, expecting her to engage in some sort of insurance change because I figured she would care about that, but she didn't ask for anything, so I just went on about my day. So sinned, but got away with it somehow. I felt bad, still feel bad, but she didn't care, so I moved on. And I went to work. I forgot my personal media badge, the one they give me to have the whole season, once again, so I had to get another temporary one. Went through all the motions, whatever. Got to the camera, set up the camera. I was right courtside, and then we made our way to the media room. And the media room is where all media sort of conglomerate. You can get food, you can get ice cream, you can get a drink, or you can just kind of hang out, do some editing, or whatever you need to do. But it's all media. Pacers media, Knicks media, just in-house people, national broadcasts, and also just some floaters in and around. So I was getting my drink, I turned around and I looked just at a table, and I was literally taken aback. I couldn't believe what I had seen. I saw Clyde Walt Frazier. If you don't know who that is, look him up. Clyde Walt Frazier sitting at a table. And I was confused for a second, but then I remember we're playing the Knicks, and he is an announcer for the Knicks broadcast. So, perfect sense. Makes sense why he would be there. But I was just stunned for a second. I just couldn't believe that I had seen Walt Frazier in the flesh and was in the same room as him. Blew my mind. I got my drink and then I proceeded to my seat, and luckily, lo and behold, my friends, or the people I'm working with, the other cameramen, they were sitting at the same table as Walt Frazier and the guy he was talking to. And the guy who I was working with, the other camera operator for the same camera I was on, he happened to be sitting 2 seats away from Walt Frazier. And there was an open seat, and then Walt Frazier's bag, and then Walt Frazier. Me, being the opportunist that I am, seized the opportunity, took the seat, and I now found myself sitting just 1 seat away from NBA Hall of Famer, 2-time NBA champion, and overall icon, Walt Frazier. And we had a bunch of time to kill before the game, so we were kind of just sitting there hanging out, shooting the shit, kind of like a lunchroom kind of vibe. Walt was talking to this other Knicks guy who was there, some guy on the coaching staff, and they were just chatting about the good old days. I heard Walt Frazier actually at one point make a Bitcoin joke, which I thought was kind of funny. At some point, I started thinking, I want to talk to him. I got to say something to him. And if you don't know about Walt Frazier, he's always dressed to the tens. Always just maxed out, dripped out, fresh to death. So I was like, all right, not only do I like his style, I like him as a person, so I want to say something to him. And it's easy just to like, when you see a random person on the street, it's easy to just slide them a compliment. So I was like, as I leave or as he leaves, be like, hey, didn't want to interrupt your meal, but those pants and that shoe combo, fire. Because he had on like some turquoise corduroy pants with some matching turquoise, I want to say like alligator skin shoe or some sort of fancy shoe, and it was popping off. So I wanted to let him know I appreciated his style and also just get the chance to talk to him. But at one point, the guy he was talking to left media room. So I found myself sitting there next to Walt Frazier's utility bag, the bag he has all of his stuff in. And he, after the guy left, he sat there for a moment, eventually reached into his bag to get his notes. And I realized I had an opportunity. So I posed the question to him, not the greatest icebreaker question, but I posed the question to him, is there anything in particular you look at when you are doing pregame research? Anything you hit just right before the game to check up on? And he said something along the lines about the New York Knicks website, just gets a good rundown. But from there, from my moment of confidence, because I didn't want to impose anyway, and I'm a media member, and it's kind of like, it's just not cool. Like, it'd be like if I was on the sideline before the game and I was talking to the players while they were warming up. It's just not cool. You just kind of stay away from that. Just kind of common courtesy. Just show your respect. So I just saw an opportunity though, and I was like, I can't pass this up. I would kick myself if I can't pass this up. And I wanted to get a picture. I was like, that's probably too much. So I got to just say something. I posed a question and he bit. And I should have guessed, he's been famous for so long, for 40 years, been one of the more recognizable people in the world of basketball, and one of the more liked people in the world of basketball. So I should have guessed that he'd be known, used to the limelight, and people just coming up to him and talk to him. And I talked to him for about 10 to 15 minutes, just about a variety of things, mainly basketball, kind of how it was back in the day, how it is now, some of his favorite things about the game, how it's changed, the Indiana versus New York basketball, and just chatted with Clyde Walt Frazier for about 10 to 15 minutes about basketball before I went out to the court and got paid to be there. Unbelievable. Absolutely immaculate. I can't believe it. I was stunned. And it was definitely the best moment of my career. And honestly, an argument for best moment of my life. I'm still in awe that this is my job, that I'm in positions like that where I can meet Walt Frazier. I can sit next to him. I can talk to him. He may not remember my name, but hopefully, let's say he comes back to another Pacers game and he recognizes my face. Regardless, doesn't even matter. I talked to Clyde Walt Frazier, not just for 1 minute, not just for 2 seconds, not just a little chit-chat conversation. I talked to him for 10 to 15 minutes. I've tried to explain to you the craziness of my job and how I think I'm so blessed, and it amazes me that I actually am getting paid to do this. And I got paid to talk to Walt Frazier. I talked to Walt Frazier. I talked to him. I can't believe it. I'm still in awe. And when I wasn't shaking, I actually did a pretty good job of maintaining conversation, asking somewhat logical questions. I stumbled over some questions here and there, but he's probably had women stumble over their own feet for him. Like, I talked to Walt Frazier about basketball for 10 to 15 minutes. That's the craziest moment maybe I'll experience for a long while. Probably a Christmas present. And to think, I only got called for this game because there was a late cancellation. I come to find out that late cancellation actually came from some guy several positions away from me actually tragically had a heart attack and passed away. So some people had to be moved, and I then got subbed into this camera role, and I was only there because of that late cancellation, and that set me up in the position to end up being able to talk to Walt Frazier about basketball for about as long as this podcast. Some of you may not understand the magnitude of that, and that's okay, but Walt Frazier asked me my name. I gave him a fist bump. I shook his hand. I touched his shoulder. I saw him dressed to the tens. At one point, a guy that I know from Wabash, I think I've mentioned before, JD Hamilton, who's also in sports media, and in a way a little bit of a mentor to me, a good friend, a compatriot or whatever, he saw me talking to Walt Frazier, and he chimed in a little bit, but it was cool to see me talking to Walt Frazier. I felt like I was sitting at the cool kids table almost. A guy that I thought is cool and I look up to, the JD guy, saw me sitting there talking to just Walt Frazier as if it was a casual day at the office. My life is crazy, guys, and I'm only barely into the sports media field. If I can somehow get to a position where I'm like, not like I'm hanging out with Walt Frazier, but if I can just get into situations like that more often, I can't believe my life. Oh, man! It's amazing! And later this week, I'm doing my first ever national broadcast, so if you happen to be at home on Tuesday and Wednesday, tune into ESPNU to watch the City of Palms Invitational. It's high school basketball, and look at the scoreboard on your screen, and your boy will be controlling that scoreboard. Oh my gosh! That's crazy, bro. I talked to Walt Frazier. I'm blessed. Thank you so much for watching this week's episode of this thing that I do. I have been your host, Matthew B. Stein. You have been fantastic as always. I hope you have a fantastic Christmas, a lovely time. I don't even know when Christmas is. It's Sunday right now. I think it's the 17th. So my next video may actually be on Christmas or the day after. Not sure. Regardless, I hope you're doing well. I hope you've been well. I hope you continue to be well. I hope you're not sick. A lot of people are sick. I think I got a little bit thing going on, but I'm not actually sick. You know, it's like right on the edge. Anyways, I talked to fucking God Walt Frazier today. Wow. Okay, I'll see you next time. Peace out, everybody.